Okay, Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump's PR bitch, and it might be you think, well, it's going to be easy to call her a bitch because she's part of the Trump administration. It goes a number of layers deeper than that, and especially if you really think it through. Of course, you got the obvious, like number one, she's PR for such absurdity, moral ineptness, lack of integrity. Um, we get to the body language though. Certainly, let me get some water here. So her facial expressions flip very quickly between her smiles and dead. Most of the time, it's this deadpan face and the direct look. Of course, we're all told like if you look people directly in the eye, you appear more genuine, more honest. But it's more like a cold stare than really any level of social normal, usual social discourse. This is signs of sociopathy. She was stand there. It's absurd to stand there and blurt out, um, "Donald Trump has risked his life for this and risked a life of such pleasure and so on." He's no different to who he was in the administration to the bag of shit he was before the administration. Fact. But Caroline Leavitt would just regurgitate the absurdity of what Trump's trying to do in a obviously a more professional manner because Trump's the one with senile dementia and a number of other whatever other mental issues are going on, and you tend to statistically, if you look at the history of people who are going senile, they have substance abuse, um, very poor diet, tend to be abusers or like manipulators of other people. Not everyone. You might be just unlucky coming across dementia later in old age. You see that, but you also see victims of abusers of people, manipulative people, ending up with dementia as well. Because narcissists own people. They don't have any concept of what I've said in a previous video, like what a friends, what a real friends, or a friend will help you to put you in a suitable position enough so that you can help them back, so that you can get them to be in a suitable position enough to help you back, and it's teamwork and supporting each other. It's true friendship. Narcissists don't see people as that. They think friends are just people you use, and there's no comeback. It's all take, 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 take until the person you're taking from has got nothing left to give. A lot of people of the Trump administration were either fired or they left as well. If you look at the lack of social expressions, it's a deadpan, cold, callous stare from Caroline Leavitt. Is it Leavitt? Whichever. She's just expressionless for the most part. But she was talking in a way that she doesn't stutter or she doesn't. It's just like a script. She just blurts all this out, and it's a script that with no deeper thought whatsoever. It's just sharing this script. She's writing this whole thing because she's fine. She's in like a parasite, if you will, in a position to use this because and using all this protects her. Because if she was a individual with moral integrity and cared about other people, she wouldn't be able to do this effectively. This is where the poisonous attitude of people like Trump brings in more poisonous attitude around him, and he collects criminal mindsets and You just look at the history of how the Republican Party has regressed and devolved into such grossness. That's a perfect example. It's the old saying, like one bad apple can spoil a whole bowl of fruit. And there's been many bad apples here and there coming through government in every country, every government. I think democracy fails when it gets lazy and too comfortable, not nipping things in the bud, the alarm bells, like Nigel Farage in the UK. Can we please, I'm begging you, please stop voting for fascists? Nigel Farage is a fascist is another prime example of how they get in. Fascism doesn't like flip, switch, and it's switched on overnight. It's levels of absurdity that you get desensitized to, and things become normalized. Different levels of absurdity and ridiculousness get normalized. And can you imagine if Biden or even Barack Obama did anything anywhere near the ridiculousness of what the Trump administration is doing today? Yeah. So how does Trump administration get away with it? Well, the brokenness of the mindset, the collective, if you will, of America is already broken anyway. The lack of education, the lack of integrity within your media, there's a lot of noise to signal ratio problem. You got so much noise, but you haven't got a direct, coherent education on what is actually going on while it's going on and why it's important and why education is important and so on. A culture of entertainment and consumerism, but facts don't matter, is very American. Um, and so this is a great opportunity for corruption to seep in. Well, most Americans just didn't have a clue what the fuck was going on. So you get all these layers of absurdity slowly chipping away, and you'll get the attitude of, oh, way back in Trump's first administration, if he was doing anything that it's hard, right now it's hard to imagine if there was anything, if he did anything that was valuable for America as a whole. You might get some Americans definitely saying, well, he's done this and done that, it's been good for this and that. We'll vote him in next time around. But again, the decline is always all about Trump and not about running the country. It's just because he's president doesn't mean to say that he's passionate about running the country at all. He's passionate about the fakery, the entertainment value that he, in his warped worldview, he thinks he's entertaining. Whereas most of the world looks at it and just sees something that is highly disgusting and your pupil will constrict. That is a thing that happens in body language as well. If you got somebody with fairly light coloured eyes, you'll be able to see the pupil change quite. I mean, don't stare into people's eyes, but again, people know I'm interested in body language. The pupil of your eye constricts when you see something you don't like, and dilates when you see something you do like, and also dilates when adrenaline kicks in. So, Caroline Leavitt, the deadpan, cold face is there. Yeah, but she does have emotion to a level that is the aggression and probably enjoys not so much aggression as in frowning. There is very, very little activity on her brow and her forehead at all when she's talking. And the rest of the face, she'll smile, and then, of course, people talk about fake smiles as well as thinking that, oh, a fake smile might be deceptive. Fake smiles are not necessarily deceptive, but with body language, you've got to consider the situation and the context, everything else. Otherwise, you've got no underlining of why people are doing a certain thing. Why is Caroline Leavitt picked as PR? Because she's ideal to just regurgitate what she's told. If she thinks she's being professional as a PR relations individual, really a good PR would be to confer and cooperate with the person that you're a PR person for and say, oh, we don't want to do it this way, not that way. But Trump is so damn stubborn. He said, no, I'm like the tariffs. No, I'm going to do tariffs regardless of the damage it's going to do. Tell him and try and educate him the damage it's going to do. No. This is a reset. No, I'm not having that. I'm not having people asking questions about the plane that I was given for Air Force One. And it is put to as a gift for him. That the whole plane would have to, the amount of money involved to look over that, because you're going to have to look over the whole plane and remove every panel meticulously. Yeah. Because, it could, maybe there's a bomb on board, whatever. Who knows? You don't know. You can't but this is all about Trump's like self-grandiose fantasy of dictatorship. He wants to be worshipped, and that's what he got with some MAGA nut jobs. And I've always said, worship is poisonous. It degrades you. It regresses you. Religious mindsets, religion poisons everything. My metaphor for a religion is like you've got this nice comfort zone of religion. It makes some people feel comfortable that maybe there's something during the afterlife. You'll be praised and looked after in some kind of imaginary heaven, or whatever multiple other layers and perspectives you might have to make you feel more comfortable after death. So it's comfortable, it's nice, a comfy sofa, but just underneath the sofa where it keeps sinking in under your own weight is a bed of nails. It's going to stab you at some point, inevitably. People will end up valuing the religion more than the fellow human being. And people end up valuing all their addictions anyway, more than their fellow human beings. Alcoholism, drug abuse, narcissists tend to be abusers of substances. It certainly seems to be true for individuals in the Trump administration. It's questionable whether it's certainly, I would guarantee that Trump's done some kind of drugs or something along the lines. He would have to have. But you got Caroline Leavitt. Look at her forehead; it's dead, but she never moves. She might raise her eyebrows very mildly, but there's never a look of confusion. Why? Because she's not really thinking about the complexities of what she's saying. She's just running the script, running the rhetoric, and doubling down on it. And she was asked by some news outlet official or some journalists, whoever they were, about the plane that was donated, given, whatever, guitars, the plane, and you see increased breathing and increased blink rate when asked, and then she doubles down and leans forward a bit and keeps the rhetoric going about the plane. She doubled down about any questioning of Trump, and it was like things to the context of Donald Trump has risked his life for this. He had a great life of luxury before the administration, and it literally risked his life, nearly got shot or whatever. Well, he's shot his ear, but the individuals were poor shot, unfortunately. Yeah, you have to be sociopathic, though, to support this absurdity, a convicted rapist as president, right, among other things. And it shows in the body language. When it shows in the body language, it shows you who that person really is, particularly when it's cold and callous like this. It's a deadpan robotic face that she gives without too much emotion, too much expression of. She has no humor. You might smile a bit here and there, pretend to be caring, but there is not one body language cue that really relates to genuine emotion, other than a sociopath would have the emotion of enjoying the ride, like as people are having a thrill on a roller coaster. And they might get a bit nervous here and there with the increased blink rate or increased breathing, but other than that, it's just back to script every single time. I think this is why, certain levels of narcissism as well lean towards sociopathy, where I wouldn't call Caroline Leavitt necessarily a narcissist. She's a user and abuser in a sociopath way, and a user and abuser of this bullshit in order to just spin it. She doesn't spin it; she uses it. She uses a spin to have this job, to just keep riding this roller coaster. She's a user of bullshit that ruins people's lives. She does not care. Now, there's a big difference between sociopathy and psychopathy. Sociopaths have no regard for humans' feelings. Psychopaths have no regard for human life. Without, that's deleting and getting rid of, not deleting, but not addressing the layers of complexity between those two things that currently is above, probably, above my ability anyway, and maybe I'll try and read up more about such things. Look up Chase Hughes. I'm sure Chase Hughes could probably see Caroline Leavitt, who does hold many behaviours here that are in line with sociopathy. Mark Carney's forehead, if I raise my eyebrows, you see those lines? You see those lines of Mark Carney's forehead. That's a good thing. I might have mentioned this in a previous video. I think I did, about Mark Carney's body language and Donald Trump's. Do this experiment. And, in a relative, don't go put yourself in a city area where it's like the down and outs hang around, because that's the down and outs dysfunction area, and if you're not familiar to them, you might get a problem. But in the general areas that you come and go and things are usual and social to a particular level, there's some normalcy within a range of just what you'd normally expect. Walking by somebody and they're walking past, you could be a total stranger, but generally go like that. Look at them, mildly go like that. They do it back to you. And they might not even know they've even done it. But this, you're going, when you do see a friend you haven't seen for maybe, normally see them more than once a week, and you haven't seen them for a couple of weeks, you might see them across the street, hey, and you do this, hey, how's it going? And seen you for a while. You see monkeys do it. There's documentaries, wildlife The baboons, I don't know what breed they are, but they're very super furry. But so much so they have this like brow, and you see them flicking their brows a lot. Also, the one-sided brow fleck is like, that could be something else. Definitely is something else. Looking at you, Cheshire, I think that subtle brow flick. There's definitely a lot to consider there of Carolina. That she's cold, she's emotionless for the most part, and she's just gross, really. The crap that she regurgitates and doubles down to present to the public is not cooperated. There's no cooperation there. There can't be. It's just a repetition of what the Trump administration wants her to say, and you can tell it's just. This is why she's so good at not stumbling over anything. It's just the script. Word for word, it's just the grandiose of Trump. Trump has risked a life of luxury for this administration. He's even risked his life. There is no reason to think that he's doing things wrong or he's corrupt. He's passionate about the country. She'll say things like that, and it runs out of it like a flowing river. Like it's all so scripted. She doesn't even believe one word of it. She doesn't. There's no way. You don't even see the emotion in her body language that will indicate she believes one word of it. It's very robotic. But you see this doubling down and a callous stare when they're talking. She's like callous like this, and definitely. Let me try to do it. Deadpan. Donald Trump has risked his life for all this, and definitely risked a life of luxury. I can't do it. This is not who I am. You get the idea, and maybe I pulled that off to a degree, and it's just that callous, bland, still face. Emotions in our facial expression come and go, they flow, ebb and flow. And basically, if you think of it like it's chemical induced. If you feel happy, you might smile a bit, and causing you to be using your smile muscles in your face a bit more than you would if you were just feeling neutral. She's uncannily neutral with a thread of aggressive double down. Aggressive, not angry, but just double down. It's pushing it forward. So the ebbing and flowing emotion can cause us to ebb and flow our body language, and that's the best way to think about body language. People erroneously think about body language as certain cues in a still position. Think about it as change, movement. Yeah. So if I was to talk about this like this, not necessarily a protecting myself, but you've got to consider the context. But you've seen like Zelensky, after he berated him in the Oval Office, his open palms and like this. So basically hugging himself. Yeah, he did feel insecure there. This is definitely a thing. Somebody, you've got to consider what the hands are doing. Somebody like this, they might be closing themselves off a little bit, but they still think they're cool, And you've got to look at not just that body language cue, what the arms are doing necessarily. You got to look at the whole cluster of everything else. Caroline Leavitt does gesture a little bit here and there, but generally when she's behind the podium, it's very little. From what I can have seen in hand gestures. She should do that more when she's being interviewed or sat. Yeah, she has all the signs of sociopathy, definitely, which is why I respond to people who are saying, I wonder how long she could keep this up. Because you might think she's going to give up. You've seen Marco Rubio, the facial expression, it looks like his face is going to fall off. It looks like somebody who's just lost all their drive and the wind's gone out of their sail, so to speak. They soulless. You don't see that, Caroline Leavitt, but you do see callousness in the expression. It's a cold, heartless stare. Yeah. Very worrying, actually, because, of course, the Trump administration brings these types of people in. So if you were selected and said, do you want to support the Republican Party? What would you do? Oh, no, thank you. No, I don't want anything to do with those people, right? I mean, that's what I'd be doing. But somebody going, ooh, can I be Trump's PR? That's going to be protective for me, and I got to ride that wave, and I can just blurt out what Trump wants me to blurt out, and I'll probably get protected and good funding and so on. Fuck these people and their feelings. That's my protection. I'm not going to have to worry about the next meal on the table if I get that job. Yeah. No integrity whatsoever through and through the whole administration, right? Because this is the type of people this disgusting level of amateurness, lack of professionalism. Anybody who boasts about professionalism are doing it because they're not professional. And Caroline Leavitt has had whole videos and interviews about professionalism, so go figure. Anybody boasting anything to a level at which you think, oh, why are you boasting that? Really question anything that promises to be something. Ask yourself, why are they promising so much? Because we're hypnotized a bit by not questioning things, because we think, oh, if you're selling a product or whatever, you've got to tell the public how great it is, because you expect it to be to a certain standard. But this is why, again, I've talked about as a metaphor and a reality as well, more than a metaphor, is people going door to door as salesmen, saleswomen, door-to-door salesman, door-to-door saleswoman. Come to door, hey, buy this phone, it'll change your life, let me show you why, and all this. It's like, if it's so great, why isn't it already in the shops? Why do you have to go door to door? I mean, if it's so provable to be so great, some business insider for some great chain of shops somewhere is going to say, I want that in my shop, we'll fund you for production and so on, we get a deal going. It doesn't happen and they're going to door. Why? Because their product is crap. But make America great again, right? And kept doubling down excessively on that and getting merchandise with MAGA written on it, caps, hats, all different things, and some digital coin, whatever. Just ridiculous, excessive, obsessive ways to try and push the advertising, and it's very American. Keep the public entertained and get them consuming, but get them addicted. And facts, don't tell them about what's really going on as long as they're on the entertainment wagon, they're never going to have enough time to think critically about all this. And by the time we've done what we're here to do, it's going to be too late for them. That's the American way. It's an American dream that never exists. It's an American nightmare. The average American is a slave to these sociopathic individuals like Caroline Leavitt, because they don't care. They care about themselves. They don't. Again, sociopaths. What's the difference? The biggest difference between sociopathy and psychopathy. Sociopaths don't care about your feelings, human feelings. Psychopaths don't care about human life, probably even their own life. A psychopath will go, just for funsies, I'm going to use this axe today and find out what it'd be like to chop someone's head off. I was just for fun. I just want to see what that is and enjoy some buzz out of it. The adrenaline buzz. That's all it is. And sociopathy is a little bit like you just enjoy the buzz, and they get a little bit nervous. I've seen Caroline Leavitt when she's been asked about the Qatar plane, which is a ridiculous size, an obese plane, if you will, and Air Force One would, if they're going to take that on and use it, they have to meticulously go over the whole thing to make sure it's safe, right? But she's been asked about that, and the blink rate increases, and she starts breathing faster. She's, and then starts doubling down on the bullshit rhetoric that Trump might come out with, but of course, in a more professional manner, in wording the script better than Trump ever could, because he'll stumble over the words and mispronunciations, go off topic with some crazy fictional crap. He's only going on doubling down. Mr. Trump is about how great his mind is, because it's another prime example. This egotism right up there, and the facts don't matter. Just bury them under the egotism. So what's the egotism or narcissism doing? I did a cognitive test and I aced it, trying to tell the public that he's somehow very coherent and a genius. Why does he keep doing these cognitive tests? He's 3-4 times now he's blurted out, I did this test, because officials are appointed to look after him for his mental health, physical health, are the ones who are giving those tests. Those very tests that he talks about are the tests for dementia. So he's just telling the public anyone in the public got an IQ above dirt will go, oh, you're giving that kind of test? Well, you must have dementia then. A child of 12 years old could ace these tests. Of course, he'll add more grandiose and blurt out some stupid math thing that he doesn't even know the answer to. And he did that. He said, they asked what is 1,000 minus this times that. He just blurted out a bunch of, and a square root or something. Blurted out a bunch of numbers, but never gave the answer. That doesn't exist on those tests, because it is for people being tested for cognitive decline. I can't stress enough how done America is. I think even those like Midas Touch they're doing great work of sharing the facts and truth of what's going on out there. But I think they, out of a comforting cognitive dissonance, are in denial of how bad it really is and how bad it's going to get. I'm serious. Within 5 years or so, if the trend continues, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon, You're going to have whole states that are just living like there's a severe famine. Yeah. Seems ridiculous now. Wait 5 years, and you'll see if I was blurting out ridiculous things 5 years ago, if you in 5 years in the future, right? So we got some time to travel. Bit of four-dimensional thinking for you before you just blurt out, you're ridiculous, this isn't happening, that's not, you just, it's never going to get that bad. It's bad, but this is America, it could never be allowed to get that bad. Yeah, keep telling yourself that while layers and layers and layers of things that kept you safe in the first place are just disappearing before your eyes because they're being cost cut and the money's being sucked up by the Trump administration to buy like gold to go in the Oval Office and among other stupid things for their self-grandiose bullshit. While people are dying, measles is increasing. Measles in 2025. It's like going back to the 1800s, yeah. It's just fucking ridiculous. 1800s before vaccination really developed. And again, paranoid conspiracy nut job as House Secretary, claiming that he's going to find a cure for autism. Autism's not a disease. I don't know what to say. You are so deliberately dumbed down in America by design. That's part of the program. That's part of the obsessiveness that the corporative control of information has. They want to control this. This is why Meta blurted out, "We are not fact checking anything anymore. Made our money, we're comfortable. You're just a mere peasant. You don't need to know the facts about things. Just run along now." You have no idea. It's impossible to have a better picture for many Americans to understand what the hell's going on right under their nose. You had riots at the Capitol for all of the wrong reasons during Trump's first administration. Now you got no riots at the Capitol for all of the wrong reasons during Trump's second administration. If you had a civil war against MAGA, you'd save more lives destroying that than you would being a slave and letting this thing happen. And it's being allowed to happen even by the courts because the law system in America is too damn slow on multiple levels. I've witnessed. Too slow. The only reason Trump ran for presidency is because he didn't want to go to prison or jail, whatever. The Secret Service were making plans ready for him to go into prison, because if they found out where he was going, if he was locked away, MAGA idiots would like to find a way to break in and break him out of prison. So that therefore would be a secret location. What happens in 4 years? If he survives that long, when he comes out of the Oval Office, guaranteed if he's still alive then, he will sit in the Oval Office. What then? You're going to have riots at the Capitol then to drag him out? You're going to wait that long? The Trump administration need the fear of death struck into them. Literally. Because they're striking the fear of death into individuals walking around worried, just generally worried. Are they going to get deported anytime soon just because they don't look American enough, or they got a tattoo and not given any due process whatsoever? Oh, deport them. Hitler started off like this with concentration camps, among other things that he started off with. Started off with the foreigners coming over, bringing disease, anything to instill a fear-based bullshit, a bullshit based on fear to control the people, to be in line. You're just a slave to this. You're a slave to the shallowness, the superficialness of the tacky capitalism. Consume and get entertained, and you're a slave to the propaganda, the bullshit, the lies. Every level of the existence of America is based on a lie. Thank you for watching. I need to head off to work. Have a great day if it's even possible for you in America. If you've got the means to do so, before I go. If you've got the means to do so, get out of America while you still can. Like if you can afford to, and there's means to be able to set up somewhere else and integrate in some other country, do it. Don't expect to be accepted too well or welcomed straight off, because right across Europe, a lot of people's actually, fucking Americans. Right? But it's not necessarily your fault individually. On so many levels. Get ready for a culture clash. A clash with real cultures, not superficial, tacky nonsense that barely deserves the wording culture. It's not a culture. I don't, it's like calling capitalism culture. It's just like it needs to be. Ugh. What? History, education of why certain practices and events are done because of the history of certain things in certain areas. That's a piece of culture right there. History of, like in the UK, Guy Fawkes. Go and look up Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes Night is a celebration of winning over a terrorist that tried to blow up the House of Parliament. So we have the bonfires with fireworks and so on the 5th of November every year. And you have events around it, music, you may get food and entertain kids. Many years ago, if you're growing up in a village area, kids, growing up in countryside, the kids would make a guy to go on top of the bonfire. They like fabric and straw, and you knock on the doors and ask a penny for the guy, so making a little bit of money to support your get together and have some fun. Of course, you'll be adult advised. You're not going to get kids running around building bonfires. It'd be adult advice. Regardless, let me move on and head off to work. And again, try to. Good luck out there. That's all I'm saying. Good luck. You're going to need it in more ways than you can possibly imagine right now with a lot of Americans. Some Americans, I'm sure they get it big time. And I'm hearing a lot of American accent come and go in certain areas in the UK on my little travels here and there. I wonder what South West England's going to sound like when I go down there. It's a beautiful part of the country, great community where I'm going, and things to see and do that isn't too spread out. You can get to things very easily from one town to another. So if you're moving to the UK to set up, areas like that would be ideal because it's more practical from A to B. Things nearby that are really developing quite well. That's part of the UK that's developing well. I keep saying I'm going to go. Other parts of the UK are more poverty stricken, and this is true for any country across Europe, you get it's poverty stricken there. UK struggling here and there. It's got its issues. But I see, it feels like there might be a turnaround if we don't vote in a fascist. Nigel Farage. We have to be careful with that. Can we please stop doing that? Not, all of Farage's ideas are leaning towards fascism. Didn't you learn? Didn't we learn as a society, as a world, anything about why fascism fails and why it's dangerous and so on? Democracy gets too lazy. And fascism comes along and raises its ugly head and it fails, and the democracy comes back, doubles down, and think, oh, we don't want to get too lazy about this, and eventually it gets too lazy. Fascism raises its ugly head again. This is like pattern up and down. But what we don't want is fascism to get so installed and so infested, like it has in America, that is Trump or no Trump, you're going to get fascism anyway, dictatorship anyway. It's installed. The swamp is installed. The deep state is installed. Again, be aware those are promising something excessively. It's because it's quite the opposite. Everybody wears a mask, and the more doubling down and the thicker the mask, the more you can guarantee the opposite is true. Yeah, some of you will wear a thinner mask, and you see some of the genuineness come through that. Cheers. Bye.